Blindspot Season 3, Episode 4, Gunplay Ricochet. So this was a pretty interesting episode. It took me forever to actually see it because in my area, at least, we had a stupid Thanksgiving Day thing show up. So it was like half the episode actually got recorded. It was like, oh, cool. So I had to wait to like finally watch it on demand to get this review out. But man, it was a really good episode. Like we got to see, the start of what Roman's doing, where he's flirting with this woman, and he gets the bracelet, and he puts it on her and everything so he can track her. We still don't know everything about her. We know that she's she was like the leader of this whole fundraiser and everything, so she's clearly got some wealth and some importance, but we still don't know everything about her. So he's gonna be tracking her down now, and then we get to see everyone else throughout the rest of the story, and it was pretty cool. Like we have not only the revelation of one of the people they're going after actually knowing Jane, but then we have the revelation at the end of the episode that Jane is supposed to have a kid, and that was crazy to me. I was like, holy crap, I did not see that one coming. So now that's a whole new story element within the series, so that should be pretty cool. And then also at the end of the episode, we finally get that moment that I've kind of been waiting for, because I was like, everyone's secret has already been kind of hinted at, in the first episode. It was like, all right, we know that Patterson and Rich were working together, so we've had that episode. We know that eventually we're going to get the thing with Zapata, and I think it was like a butterfly or dragonfly tattoo that they're trying to cover up, so obviously that's like her big secret. We know Weller still has his secret about, whatever happened, whatever mission he was going on, or he did something that was crazy. And then, of course, the secret with Jane kind of going out on extra missions. But in that first episode, everyone's secrets were revealed, except for Reed. And it was like, alright, does he not have anything? Or is something going to come out later? And this is that episode where this random little moment comes up, where we see him at the end of the episode with I want to say he was the assistant director or something like that. And it's like, alright, well, why is he hanging out with this guy who not only just showed up, but then later in the episode, Patterson realizes could potentially be a part of this whole tattoo that the dead guy was looking into. And it's like, okay, well, now we have an issue here, and we need to see what in the world's going to play out from that. So I love the way they ended it with like all these different revelations, and they started at like in the second half of the episode with them showing like Jane and Weller's wedding video, and everybody talking and stuff like that. And then they get to the end of the episode, or they get to the end of their video, and Roman shows up, and he like hacked the video and was like, I guess my invitation got lost, and he goes through his little spiel and everything. And I was like, well, that was actually kind of menacing and cool. And who knows how old that was too. It was like, they did that a super long time ago, so that was before everything even got started, and that was the first time they actually saw that. So that was actually kind of interesting. But man, it was actually a really good episode. Like just for that, it was good like the whole way through. But just for like the revelations that were coming up, and I think the guy's name was Rossi, the guy who actually knew Jane as Remy. I was like, oh, he just randomly disappeared, and then the guy who happened to lose him, we see with Reed. And so there's like so many different connections there. It was like, oh, maybe he was involved with letting the guy go. And then we see him at the end of the episode, Zapata ends up catching them. Like, oh, she sees Reed after he's like, oh, I already made it home. And she's about to confront him. And then she sees the dude walk out, and it's like, oh, Patterson and I were just talking about how it was either this guy or someone above him doing something secretive. And now it seems like it's that guy, especially because he's talking with Reed, the assistant director, of the FBI. So I don't really know what that means. Or is he the director? I think he's the assistant director, because I believe the Southern woman is the official director. I really can't remember. I have no idea what her actual position is. I just know she wore a Michigan shirt the whole episode. I can't even remember her name. I feel like the way they have her character in the show is so weird to me. I'm just like, I never remember her name. But she wore a Michigan shirt. I'm from Michigan. I don't care about sports, but it's like, hey, that's the school I graduated from. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like, she even asked Reed in this episode, like, is there something that I should know? And of course he says nothing. It's like, no big deal. I don't have any secrets. It's just everyone else around me does. So I don't know where we should expect to be headed for Reed and what this means, and our whole cuttlefish situation, if that's what we want to call it. But I am looking forward to how that's going to play out. And I think with the way this episode went, I mean, it was, I know I'm basically skipping over like the actual story, so I guess to kind of go through that, they pretty much, find a tattoo. They find out that this guy who is bombing back in the 90s, who was thought to be dead, was actually alive, and then his daughter gets busted, and she sits on the bench, and that's what leads to the whole Rossi thing. Which I don't know if this was because I was watching it on demand or if this was actually how the episode went, but I swear it felt like there was a scene missing when when he like comes up behind her. He's like, Remy, he's like, what are you doing here working with the police? And then for me, when I was watching it on demand, when it came back from commercial, they were just back at the office. Like there was no interaction. Like I'm sure there was a scene that I completely missed about how they actually captured him, because they're pointing guns at each other, and then when it came back, it was just like, yeah, we have him in lockup right now, and this is who he is. And I was like, I feel like there has to be something missing. So I don't know if that was on demand or if that is legitimately how the episode went, but I thought that there's definitely something in there that they cut out for time, because I'm like, that's a weird disconnect, where it's like they're pointing guns at each other and she just got the revelation that he knows her real name, and then when it comes back, they're back at the office already. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't seem to work. There's another scene that was weird too, where Patterson and Zapata were looking into the car that he had, and they found the stuff. And then the very next scene, it was them being like, oh, Patterson has something. And they went to the office, and Patterson and Zapata were in the office. And I was like, that's super weird, because it was mostly because it went back and forth. It was like, okay, Zapata and Patterson are at this house trying to figure stuff out, and then it goes back to the office, and it's Weller and the team. They're kind of talking, and then it goes back to Patterson and Zapata in the car, and then it goes back to the team at the office. And I was like, that doesn't connect. Like, it was just like, yeah, they found something, and then they just went to the room, and they were both in there. And I was like, well, that's definitely, like, time wise, that's a disconnect, because it should have just been in a different order. But that was something else that I noticed in the episode, where I was like, that's super weird, because they just found the money, and I thought they were going to talk to them like on the computer, and then they were actually in the office when it was like, yeah, they found something. And I was like, oh, well, that's super weird, because they were already establishing the fact that Weller was at the office. Weller and Jane and everybody were at the office still, but the way they cut back and forth made it seem like they were jumping back and forth through time. It was super weird, like just the way they did it. But all in all, the main case was fairly simple. Like I said, like it was clear that in this episode, the main case was like absolutely irrelevant. Like they went through, but it was finding out that this guy actually knows Jane as Remy. He knew, before they lost their memories, he knew them when they were fairly young too. And he's like, I bet your mom did this to you, or kind of, or convinced you to do it and stuff like that. So he does know what Shepard was like, and he knows kind of some of the stuff they went through. And I thought that was really interesting. And then, of course, he does help her out at the end when he's like, I always hated doing this job for your mom, and I think you should know. And it was the fact that Jane has a child out there somewhere. So, excuse me, that was just a crazy, revelation there. And like I said, the main mission itself, they go to the campus, they ultimately just end up killing the guy. And a part of it, the only real part of relevance that came from, like that ending segment, was the fact that the second half of the episode was them going through and, showing the wedding video and how they worked so well together. And, after that big explosion that they had, it was, like Weller freaking out that Jane was hurt, but of course her being fine. And then them going through the process of being this team, and this was really that episode where they like truly kind of reunited and kind of went back to what they were before all the madness of the bounty and her having to take off and stuff. So I like the way that they did play that out, but ultimately it was like the main mission was just like yeah, whatever. It was all the side stuff that was like really intriguing. So I still enjoyed the whole episode, but it was clear like the main mission was like a catalyst for all the cool stuff to happen. Like them working on the bomb at the last second and, pulling the wire at zero and stuff. So it was definitely cool, but obviously the revelations and the questions as far as, what in the world's going on with Roman, like we still don't know exactly what he's headed for. But yeah, I definitely love this episode for, the Rossi character kind of introducing this new element of Jane having a kid out in the world, which reminds me that Weller actually has a kid out in the world as well. I didn't think of that until just now. But, like, that's a crazy revelation. We still don't know what's going on with Roman. Now we have this mystery with Reed working with this guy who Patterson and Zapata believe is probably, like, their prime suspect in this whole cuttlefish investigation that they're doing. So they still don't have a ton of the answers. We don't even see the guy with one ear, which, as I mentioned, I thought he might be, more relevant. And I think I might be right, because they, revealed his character in the last episode. We saw nothing about him this time around, and now they've added another character that could be involved with that whole scenario. So he's going to be at the top, the guy with one ear, I would assume. And then there's going to be this guy who showed up in this episode. I totally forgot his position. And then I'm sure there's going to be some other people as well. Of course, Rossi is somehow involved in that because I'm sure the guy did ultimately let him go free. It's hard to say if Reed is involved with it, and that's kind of where my big question is like, is Reed involved with everything that's going on there, or does he, is there like a separate secret thing that's going on? Because if he's involved with Rossi, then that's something way bigger than what I was thinking. But, there could just be another little secret that they have. So, either way, I'm sure it's going to be bad, because obviously he's hiding it. So, it's something that we'll just have to wait and see if it's, like, he was a part of, Rossi actually escaping and all that stuff. He knew about that going down. So, lots of questions to be answered, but this is definitely an awesome episode. A lot of cool revelations, and, finally we got that thing on Reed, because I was just wondering, like, is there something that he's hiding too, or is he the only one who doesn't have a secret? But he certainly has a secret, and unfortunately, his secret seems to be involved with the death of one of his own agents. So, that's a huge deal, and we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure it's not going to be that bad. It's probably going to be, he just happens to have another secret with that guy who has a much deeper secret, but I don't think he's going to have been involved with, like, I don't think he knows that they had, one of his agents killed or anything like that. I don't think he's that deep into it, but clearly it's, going to be something wrong, or either immoral or, illegal. It's going to be one of the two, but we'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Lots of crazy things going on, but I definitely want to know how you guys feel about the reveal that Jane actually has a daughter somewhere out in the world. I would love to know what you guys think about that, how it's going to change the show up. Clearly, the daughter would be, I would imagine, a teenager at this point. So, if they, of course they're going to find her, because you don't reveal that someone has a kid and then you never find the kid. Unless the kid's dead, that would be depressing. But I don't think they'll do it that way. Who knows? But I don't know. That's pretty crazy. I feel like that could certainly come into play as to how they defeat Roman, because I think that would be very interesting if he realized he had a niece, and then it was like, crap, that I don't know. I mean, as crazy as he is, it might not, but it wouldn't really shock me if somehow that changed his perspective, where it was like, if I kill my sister, or if I get revenge on her, because it's still kind of hard to tell if he wants her actually dead, but he definitely wants revenge. He wants her to suffer. I don't think he wants her to die. So, I don't know. He might use that against them, finding out that he has a niece, and it's like, oh, that actually just helps with leverage. So I don't know if he'll go even more evil once he finds out the truth, but in general, it's going to have a huge impact on the show. So I would love to know what you guys think about the reveal, and would love to know your theories on how that's going to change things up and what's going to happen there. And of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.